here we are with another question. I am Michael Pearl. You are at the door. And is the United States in prophecy? Are the coming invasion of Israel? You know what? A lot of people make a mistake. We're ethnocentric. We live in America. We're the greatest people in all the world. So surely the Bible prophecy is going to be all about us, right? No. I mean, we're come lately to the end of a millennium. The whole first millennium, we weren't even here. Most of this next millennium, we weren't even here. We come at the end of the second millennium and we want to be the center of Bible prophecy. We live on the other side of the ocean from Israel. No. See, all the Bible prophecies are about Israel. They're not about us. Now, where they are about other nations, it's because those other nations affect Israel in some way. Now, there is one prophecy that can include the United States, and we're going to look at that. Now, I wrote a whole book on the subject, The Prophecy of Magog and Israel, Ezekiel 38 and 39. I haven't even looked at this book since it was printed. I was shocked when I went to get a copy today. It's a good book. I read it to see what I could learn. It's got all kinds of pictures in it that are pretty. I didn't even know they were in there. Well laid out. So, in fact, I forgot I wrote the book. But I'm going to get a copy and read it. You ought to too. What I did do is I went back to the book of Ezekiel 38 and 39 today, and I've got the whole 2 chapters, and I'm not going to go labor all of it, written out here. And this tells of the coming invasion of Israel. Now, why I'm talking about this is prophecies are being fulfilled right now today that are going to lead to this. Things are happening in the news right now over there in the Middle East that you can see. Now, I'm not saying that without doubt what's happening is going to lead immediately to these events here. I'm saying that if these events were going to take place 2 years from now, then conditions are ripe right now for them to take place. Conditions are now as they would need to be for this prophecy to be fulfilled. Those conditions were not right 15 years ago, 30 years ago, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago. The conditions are right today. Something has happened in our day and age that is leading to the fulfillment of Ezekiel 38 and 39. Here's the prophecy. I've got extreme detail in this little book. I won't have time to go into that by any means. So he says, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. I prove who those people are. You go back in the Bible, you take the names of those personalities, you look at when they were born, you look at where they moved to, you look at their children, and you see the family tree, and we're reading the family tree here, and we have historically the location of those people, where they lived and where they traveled. And this Gog and Magog are Japhetic, the sons of Japheth, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. They include the Russians, as well as many of the other Aryan peoples of Eastern Europe. So Gog and Magog is not just the nation of Russia, but it is the general white race of people that exist in Europe there. Say, thus saith the Lord, behold, I'm against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. And that's, they used to say it's Moscow and Tobolsk. It's not, just happens to rhyme with them. Those cities didn't exist at that time. I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, this invading force of Israel. I'll bring thee forth with thine army, horse and horsemen, all of them clothed with sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Now this seems to be strange. You're going to talk about them coming on horseback with swords and shields. I say that 30 years ago, that was not likely. It is more likely today. I have pictures of the Second World War being fought on horseback. The Polish armies defended against the invading Russians with great numbers rushing across the plains on horseback. My daddy was in the Second World War. He joined the military and was trained on horseback. Now, he didn't end up fighting on horseback, but he was trained in anticipation of horseback. Back during Afghanistan, the mule's price was really high here in Tennessee because they were shipping them all for our military to use in Afghanistan. Russia is creating the largest population of horses and mules in the world. You say, now why is it more likely to happen today than back then? Because we now have the ability to nullify all electronic equipment. What happens when EMPs are set off? You know, even the modern rifles are being set up to work off computers, even the projectiles, and with the interweaving of communications. When all that stuff goes down, no rockets or airplanes will fly, no tanks, no trucks, no radios. Give me a sword then. Give me a shield then. And a horseback, the guy on horseback is going to be superior, get there quicker and get away quicker. And that's what I'd want to do, get away from this battle. And he says, I will turn thee back with your horses. Now he names five countries. 5 countries that are going to invade Israel. The interesting thing, at the time this was written, 700 years BC, 2,700 years ago, at the time this was written, there was 100 different countries that were a potential threat to Israel. And he just happens to name 4 of these that are existent today that didn't cease to exist. And the 5th one is not really a country, it's a people group, and that people group still exists. So, and those countries are forming up right now together under Gog and Magog to fulfill this prophecy. The first one he names is going to invade Israel with Gog and Magog is Persia. The English changed the name of Persia to Iran and Iraq, but it was Persia. Persian rugs, Persian carpets, Persian lamps, Persian vases. And there's discussion of changing it back. I suspect they will. So Persia is going to be part of the invading force. Ethiopia, which is also aligned with Russia. Libya, aligned with Russia. With them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer. Now, Gomer are the sons of Japheth. They're Gauls, Brits. It's a white Aryan race. France, Belgium, Switzerland, southern Germany, Austria, and the Czech Republic, along with the United States of America, New Zealand, and Australia, are all Gomer. So this Gomer is going to be part of the invading force with these others. He's separating them because some of them are Muslim groups, some of them are African, and then some of them are international. And then he says, the house of Togomar is the next one. That's Turkey. Now, the Turkish language is spoken by 170 million, it's different forms of it, but it's Turkestan. It's spoken by 170 million people. Now, there are countries like Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan. They all have Turkish-derived languages and descend from the Turkish lineage. And so that group of people are going to be part, and all of them are Muslim, part of the invading force of Israel, as well as Ethiopia, Persia, and Libya. They're all Muslim. Be thou prepared and prepare thyself. No, excuse me. North quarters and all his bands and many people with thee. So there'll be additional people, with lots of different groups of people mixed in with this invading force. Be thou prepared, prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that be assembled unto thee, be thou a guard unto them. Here's the prophecy. After many days, speaking to Israel, thou shalt be visited. In the latter years, term used for the end of our age, thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword. He's talking about the Jews coming home in 1947 and 48 to the land of Palestine, and is gathered out of many people. Many different nations yielded up the Jews to go back there against the mountains of Israel, which have been always waste. They were totally wasted for 2,000 years, which is brought back out of the nations. Out of the nations, United Nations. That's how Israel came to exist. United Nations declared a homeland for the Jews. Brought out of the nations, that they shall dwell safely. Israel dwell safely, all of them. So that's the prophecy of Israel. At that time thou shalt ascend and come like a storm. And he's speaking of these foreign countries. Thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land, thus saith the Lord. Sheba and Dedan, that's Saudi Arabia area, and the merchants of Tarshish, that's Spain, with all the young lions, that's the descendants of the Spanish and of the Sheba and Dedan, shall say unto thee, art thou come to take a spoil? So they're not going to be involved in the invading force. Spain, the Spanish, be Mexicans, South Americans won't be involved in it. Nor will Saudi Arabia be involved, or Yemen will not, that's Dedan, be involved in this invading force. They will say, are you come to take a spoil? Just a question. Hast thou gathered thy company to take a prey, to take a spoil? Therefore, Son of Man, prophesy and say, thus saith the Lord God, in that day when my people of Israel dwell safely, shalt thou not know it? Thou shalt come out of the north parts, many people with thee, all of them riding upon horses, a great company, a mighty army. Thou shalt come up against the people of Israel as a cloud to cover the land. In the latter days it'll happen, he said. Thus saith the Lord. It shall come to pass in that time when Gog shall come against the land of Israel, saith the Lord God, my fury shall come upon my face. And he said there'll be a great shaking in the mountains. Verse 20, it describes the tribulation. A great sword upon the land, hailstones, fire, brimstone coming out of the sky, tribulation. Thus will I magnify myself and sanctify myself. I'll be known in the eyes of many nations. Therefore, Son of Man, prophesy against Gog and say, thus saith the Lord, behold, I'm against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. I will turn thee back and leave the sixth part of thee. So 5/6 of the invading force is going to be killed. And I'm skipping a lot of passage here, are going to be killed on the mountains north of Jerusalem. And he said, I will cause thee to come up from the north parts. I'll bring thee up on the mountains of Israel. So in the northern part of Israel, southern Lebanon, is where Russia and the United States and Britain and Switzerland and Germany and Turkey and Ethiopia and Persia and Libya, they're all going to be destroyed on the mountains north of Jerusalem. He describes that destruction. He said, I'll send a fire on Magog, so back home, and among all that dwell carelessly in the isles. So those places like the United States, Great Britain, Australia, those that dwell carelessly, be a fire among them that dwell carelessly. And they shall know that I am the Lord. And they that dwell in the cities of Israel shall go forth. Now here's interesting. And set on fire and burn the weapons, both the shields, the bucklers, the bows, the arrows, the hand staves, the spears. They shall burn them with fire 7 years. So that they shall take no wood out of the field, neither cut down out of the forest, for they shall burn the weapons of fire, and they shall spoil those that spoil them, and rob those that rob them. It shall come to pass in that day, I will give unto Gog a place there of graves in Israel, the valley of the passengers on the east of the sea. It shall stop the noses of the passengers, and they shall bury Gog and the multitude, and they shall call it the valley of Hamagog. 7 months shall the house of Israel be burying of them, that they may cleanse the land, and all the people of the land shall bury them, and it shall be to them a renown in that day, and I shall be glorified, saith the Lord. So this is going to be such a thorough destruction, a burning, a fire on the mountains north of Jerusalem, that it will take everybody in Israel 7 months to cleanse the land, he calls it. But then he said, they will sever out men of continual employment. And as they pass through the land, they'll set a flag up on men's bones. And then they'll come back and bury the dead in order to cleanse the land. And that'll take 7 years. So first of all, there's an intense cleansing, burying process of everyone taking part for 7 months. Then there's a job description. A piece in the Jerusalem Post says, wanted, hiring right now. Men to pass through the land of Israel, searching for the polluted bones of the dead Americans, Germans, Russians, and Frenchmen whose bones lie in our sacred land. And for 7 years, men will travel through the land, set a flag up so that they can see it and come and dig up what's there and dispose of it. Now that's a prophecy. That is a Bible prophecy that will come true. And I say to you right now, Turkey has gotten together with Syria and gotten together with Persia. They're there together in Syria. And Russia is in there arming them. Russia right now is selling anti-missiles that'll take out the Israeli airplanes or American airplanes to Turkey. And all of the things are coming together. The alignment of the nations are such that if the rapture were to take place tonight, I can see an invasion of Israel taking place right away. So this is Bible prophecy, to cleanse the land. A lot more. He says these people Israel will be brought back from the graves, gathered out of all the nations, come from many nations. I'll gather them into their own land and bring them back. And there's really some detailed prophecies there about Israel. Don't have time to go into all of it. It's all right here in this little book. The prophecy of Magog and Israel, Ezekiel 38 and 39, or the subtitle is the United States in Prophecy. And this book is by Michael Pearl. You can get it in No Greater Joy Ministry. So that's the answer to that question. Is the United States in prophecy? Yeah, I think so, under Gog and Magog. All right.